if you look at the map between Turkey and Libya, there are some large islands like Rhodes and one of the largest islands in the Mediterranean, Crete. How can they be ignored?
Well, that's a valid question. International law in general and law of the sea, maritime law in particular, are quite complicated matters. Several relevant factors are taken into account when arriving at the final delimitation line, such as the direction of coast, the length of the relevant coast, whether an island has a cutoff effect of a continental coast, etc., etc. It even gets more complicated because how we got to this point is important. And that is, you mentioned the ignoring of. Well, the ignoring was towards Turkey. Turkey's rights and interests in
ignoring
the
by
EastMed,
whom?
by the Greek Cypriots and by the support of Greece. And also the Turkish Cypriots' rights and interests were ignored. So all this time we kept saying, you know, wait a minute, you cannot ignore the longest coast in the Eastern Mediterranean. What we need to do is to have a calm situation where we can talk to each other.
Mm. So let me, to understand you correctly, you say that this move, the memorandum signed between Turkey and the government of Tripoli, is it a step towards negotiation or is it a step towards a crisis?
We don't like the word crisis. If you look at what Turkish leadership has been saying for many years, you will see that it included, what we said all this time, included calls for inclusion and not exclusion. So no matter what happens from now, I hope that cooler heads will prevail. We would do well to talk to each other. And once the Cyprus problem is solved, maybe we can have a much broader chance of success.
If we look at the maps that have circulated after the Turkish-Libyan memorandum, the next thing that one would expect is a Turkish ship coming south of Crete for research, and that would create a crisis. Is this what we should expect?
I'm not necessarily obsessed with Cyprus, but I will again use Cyprus as an example to how we got here. For many years, because of the unilateral moves of Cyprus, which we considered underhanded, because you either have a negotiations track, you wait for the negotiations to end, or if you're in a hurry, then you talk to the Turkish Cypriot neighbors and you explore and exploit. But Cyprus, Greek Cyprus, did neither of those. We kept telling whoever would listen, including the Greek Cypriots when we had the chance, and the foreign minister, prime minister of your country, that this is not the way to go. So in the end, our response was sending the two ships, the platforms. So maybe that's a long answer to what you asked, but I think it contains the codes of how we see the world.
Knowing and following Turkish politics for quite a long time, I was impressed by this new blue homeland doctrine and by the maps that divide the Aegean Sea in half. And I think this is new. And my question is, what made Turkey choose this new dogma, this new line, which in the eyes of the Greeks is a clear provocation?
There's so much mirroring going on in terms of provocation. I'm amused when Turkey is quoted as the destabilizing factor. Whereas if you go to the other side of the Aegean, you can just replace the country names with Greece and Greek Cypriots. Who is to blame? It's not necessary, it's not useful to try to assign blame. What is not new is that we have, in fact, legal and political issues regarding the Aegean Sea, you know, the breadth of the extent of the territorial sea, airspace issues, etc., etc. I don't want to, you know, to come up with a long list because I don't want to sound pessimistic.
But this list is being debated since 1976 at least.
Exactly.
Blue homeland is new.
Exactly, but you should listen to what we have been consistently saying, and that is, in the Aegean, we do not wish nor will allow to be suffocated, just as we will not allow such an outcome in the Eastern Mediterranean.
Greek-Turkish relations have been at their best, and suddenly they get worse. Rhetoric gets more fired up, relations are strained. In my view, this is a choice your country made, and I wonder why.
Yes, we've had several years worth of very positive level in our relationship. I don't see that as an exception. Perhaps we're too alike each other, and maybe we're too emotional as two peoples. There's no reason why we cannot enjoy civilized, good neighborly relations. For that to happen, I think we should treat each other with more affection, more neighborly, not as competitor, not trying to score. And God forbid, we should not wait for an earthquake to remind us that we're neighbors.
Let me give you a specific example. Since July, mid-July, we are seeing a considerable increase in migration flows. And many people in Greece suspect that this is used as a political tool, a tool of political pressure. This doesn't look very neighborly.
Yeah, I agree. If that were the case, it would not be very good neighborly, but it isn't. Because I don't want to bore your viewers with statistics. I was told not to give too many numbers. But the number of people who have flooded Turkey in any given moment since July has been much more than the increase that the Greek islands saw. So let's say if 10 more people came to Turkey in this period since July, only 3 of them have reflected in the numbers. And European Union should help more, should help Greece more, should help Turkey more. Because if it is a European problem, then we should really be helped and not criticized.
If you were here 10 years ago as a Turkish ambassador in Athens, you would be a happy man. Are you afraid that you are going to have to handle a crisis like the one that we had in the 70s, the 80s, until 96?
I would be happy in Athens no matter which decade I serve. Because, yes, of course we have issues. But I'd rather be here and maybe have a very small contribution in the handling of issues than be somewhere else, as they say, a plain vanilla place, where they don't even know where Turkey is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.